Hi, welcome to our show, The Gift of Knowing. I'm your host. My name is OMENA, and today we're going to talk about vicarious trauma.
Cut. We're restarting. Look at Carol for the count, not me.
Well, look at Carol.
Carol.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Carol, you're going to count down.
oh, I don't even have a headset on, you know that?
Put a headset on. She doesn't have one on that camera.
I don't have one.
Could she use this one? Yep, we have a headset coming.
You could probably switch cameras,
Hold on,
Mom.
hold on, I'll get you one.
Mom, do you want a chair?
Headset.
You sure?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll get you a chair too, so.
Oh, there was a little stool I used to.
Yeah.
Oh, take a chair, chair.
Well, yeah, it's definitely better than standing with your back and everything.
Robin's still, Robin.
Somebody's still look back.
It's hard when your back is a little weak. It's hard to stand.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mark.
Who's better than you, Mark?
Not many.
Penny.
Mark likes us now.
Mm-hmm.
I always like you. I just like you better when you're not here.
He likes me better when what? I'm not here? Did you say that?
Oh.
You, general, like
Oh.
universal.
You're
Well,
being...
I like you better when you're here.
How's that?
I'm kidding. As long as you're happy, I don't care. Can you hear him?
A little bit. Say something, Richard.
Did you not hear what he just said now?
He said to bring the
Very
camera up a
vaguely.
little bit.
Said Philomena's head is
I
cut
think,
off
I think I,
a little bit.
can you hear me, Richard?
Your skin is beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. You take very good care, and I think you're just blessed with beautiful skin.
Well, I wash it every night and I put moisturizer on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think to have beautiful skin, the big thing you have to do is
Richard, say
clean it.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Have something.
That's
Very
really,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to it.
Richard,
Yep.
can you hear me?
You don't have a thing now.
Speak. Speak to us.
Talk to them.
Yep, I can hear him.
Alright, you can flip this up a little bit. He's in. Put 4 on. No, hold on. Put 4 on. Okay, you're good.
Wait, you gotta get me a camera.
Oh, give her this one.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Just fall flat.
That's why I said who's better than you.
Damn, why?
Nobody.
No, but.
Thank you so very much. I couldn't just grab it
Feel
myself.
free to sit down, please.
Please, no, I'm kidding. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
It's definitely a lot more comfortable,
Why is
isn't
that?
it?
All right, quiet on the side.
Kind of the set.
Hi, welcome to our show, The Gift of Knowing. I'm your host, OMENA, and today I'm with Christine, and we're going to discuss vicarious trauma. Christine's going to ask me questions and I'm going to give explanations, so hopefully you enjoy it. Hi, Christine. Welcome to my show.
Hello. Thank you
how
for
are
having
you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm grateful that you're here.
Well, I'm grateful to be here.
Okay?
Well, my first question is, can you explain vicarious trauma and why it's essential to understand this concept?
Well, it's very important because with a lot of the violence that are going on today in the world, a lot of people are triggered with vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma is when oftentimes, the only way I can explain it really well, if you grow up in a household where there's a lot of domestic violence, but only one of the partners, let's say it's a husband and wife, and the wife is the one that's the victim, not the children, but the children experience the vicarious trauma, the vicariously experience the trauma to what's happening to their mother or their father. Most times it's the mother. So that creates an anxiety in them because they don't know if it's going to happen to them. It may never happen to them, but they always have the fear of walking around on tiptoes to make sure they don't trigger off whoever the offending parent is and that they would attack them. Oftentimes that's where it starts. And it's about being around violence, even though it's not happening to you, it can trigger people.
So how did you become first aware of vicarious trauma in your work?
I was a domestic violence counselor when domestic violence became law in Connecticut in the 80s. And I started up a domestic violence program, and families were mandatory to come to it. And that's where it began to emerge, the vicarious trauma, and doing research on it and finding out. It was kind of new then. And I did a lot of training on it and a lot of education on it so people could understand when they're working with people to look for signs of it.
And I was just going to ask you, what are the common signs and symptoms of various traumas?
Well, you might find someone, it's a little bit like PTSD. You might find somebody that's hypervigilant around you. Certain moves could put them on edge. The way they look, the way they react. Most of the time they're going to react rather than respond. Respond, yeah.
Okay. How does vicarious trauma impact the mental health and well-being of professional working in the fields like therapy, counseling, or emergency services?
You mean how does it affect professionals?
Yes.
Well, if they don't know how to take care of themselves, you could be dealing with burnout at a very fast rate. It depends on if the therapist or the professionals, if they're carrying any of the vicarious trauma in them and don't know it. They can be triggered by the idea of violence or the news. And like I said, all what's going on, all the shootings, all the wars, all of that can affect people without them even being aware. They could become irritable, not be able to sleep, don't know why they're so anxious, might be even afraid to go out. All of those things are like triggers.
Are there specific self-care practices or coping strategies that you would recommend to professionals to manage their vicarious trauma?
Definitely. If any of them are, like they can have emotional reactions, which I just went through, reacting to the vicarious trauma, but not really being too aware of it. They could become detached, they could become numb, not being able to feel that's going on, mood swings. They could have intrusive thoughts of nightmares. They could be dreams from childhood that they experienced. The vicarious trauma is young. Their sleep could be disturbed on a physical level, fatigue, headaches. These are all symptoms to look for that might be new. Lower immune system. On the cognitive symptoms is difficult concentrating. Memory problems. It's like a lot of stress. Intrusive thoughts or images related to trauma. If you're a professional and you're working with someone that has suffered trauma, whether it's vicarious, real trauma, or PTSD, and they're telling you about it, you can take on that energy without even realizing it. And it can give you these kind of disturbance, you know. Or you think the worst when something happens. So they can become disoriented, or, they can become confused, you know.
Are there specific self-care practices or coping strategies that you would recommend for people?
Absolutely. The first thing is to be aware. To be aware of what's not your normal reaction. If you're aware of your reactions and your responses, and you find there's an increase in them, if you find yourself being exhausted, not able to sleep, you might eat more, you might drink more, you might starve yourself. It depends on how the person deals with that kind of stress. So all of those things are there to get your attention. So it's realizing, oh, wait a minute, this is not normal, I never experienced this before. So there are ways to become aware of it and then to go about supervision helps, or finding someone that deals with vicarious trauma, a therapist that deals with it, or workshops, helping on how to cope with it.
Mm-hmm. How do you think organizations and workplaces can better support their employees who might be at risk for experiencing vicarious trauma?
Well, they have to recognize it first, and then they have to put up programs training on vicarious trauma and the side effects of it, and allowing their employees to go to the workshops or give them the time to learn how to cope with it and how to self-care. They're the most important things if they continue to work with people who are traumatized.
How do you think friends and family members can best support loved ones that might be experiencing this?
Well, it depends on what family they come from. You have to look and see that the vicarious trauma come from the family. Some families may think that's normal. Other families may not think it's not. So it's about helping the person to help them find out who their allies are in the family. And that's who they would go to for support. Knowing who you can go to that will validate your feelings and understand where you're coming from, rather than discount them and say, oh, that was nothing, you're just making it up. You know, that does happen. And that doesn't help the person who's traumatized.
No, I would imagine not. Are there any key takeaways or messages you'd like to share with our viewers regarding vicarious trauma?
Well, my advice would be in the world that we're living in, and everything is at your fingertips, and television oftentimes awfulizes all the violence that goes on for children and adults, and just the war that's going on now in Israel. That's very vicariously traumatizing a lot of people in the world, because you have a lot of Holocaust survivors that went through all of this, and their descendants who have vicarious trauma from that. And then you have your everyday violence and all the things that are happening. I would say turn off the television and watch something funny or something enlightening. Don't watch the news if it triggers you. Even if you're not aware you're suffering vicarious trauma, if you're having a reaction to the news and whatever's going on in another part of the world, and it brings up the feelings of being helpless. Helplessness and powerlessness are two of the things that'll bring up the most. If you're experiencing any of that, that's a clue you might be vicariously traumatized. And then it's about, you have to really start recognizing it, then you want to do something about it, and you want to understand how to cope with it. If you have to go beyond that, then go and get therapy or counseling or support or group or whatever it is in order to take care of yourself, because it's so stressful on the body, it can make you physically ill, disturb your spirituality, your mentality, your emotionality, and your physicality. It can disturb all of that. So it's really wise to know what it is and how to cope with it.
And paying attention to your body.
Paying attention. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. And it's just good to be aware of it and where the root cause. One of the things about vicarious trauma, you don't have to come from a dysfunctional place where there's a lot of trauma in your life. You could be just a good, healthy person that wants to go into the social work field or to help people. And you could be vicariously traumatized just working with people who have PTSD, complex PTSD, mental health issues, addiction issues, domestic violence issues. You can get vicariously traumatized by all of that. So you have to be aware if it's affecting you.
How do you see the future of addressing vicarious trauma evolving in your field, and what improvements would you like to see?
I don't really know enough about all the tests and all of, you know, they do a lot of tests and they give a lot of proof. I think that I would hope that a lot more programs would be available and developed, because that would help a lot of people understand, and then to have programs that would help them heal. Like I said, the vicarious trauma doesn't have to be personalized, but you can get it from working with people who have been very traumatized. I mean, you get an awful lot of Red Cross workers, you get an awful lot of veterans, soldiers, anything like that. They're all traumatized. Even if nothing ever happens to them, they're traumatized by what happens all around them. That's vicarious trauma. And it's about learning to detach. I had a person call me up a couple of days ago when the war started in Israel. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pray for them. I don't know. In a panic. It's a perfect example of vicarious trauma. I said, you don't have to do anything. Just give it up to God. Let God take care of it. Bless everybody in a conflict. You know, that helps temporarily on a mental health level, on your mental body, is to say, oh, I can pray for everybody. Not taking sides in anything. Just pray for everybody. Bless everybody. Whatever your religious affiliation is. Or even if you don't have one. You don't have to have one. It's about recognizing the powerlessness and the helplessness around it, and recognizing that you can give it to somebody.
I always say God bless the whole world. That way it covers everybody and everything.
Absolutely. Because it is the whole world that's involved. There is no right or wrong side. The truth, in a great world, none of it be happening. People get their egos involved in whatever, I don't know. I'm not a war expert.
What steps can individuals take to protect themselves from vicarious trauma in their everyday lives, even if they're not professionals in trauma-related fields?
Absolutely. Even if they're just everyday people walking around and they're not in the helping profession. And for the helper, again, whatever group you're in, awareness is the thing. It's like you have a mother who loses a child, or parents. When they get through the whole grieving process, and especially if they lost someone through accidents or illness, that kind of thing, and they have other children, they're going to be looking for the illness in other children, in other their children, because of the fear of losing another one. That's vicarious trauma from that. Or they're going to be paranoid if when their children goes out in the car, trying to make sure they're safe. And it takes a while for them to understand, oh, that's where that's from. You know, and I'll tell you a little story. My youngest son, when he was 9 years old, fell off his bike and he had appendicitis. And I had to bring him to the hospital. I called up the pediatrician. And the pediatrician sent me to Hartford Hospital. And he goes to St. Francis. And I couldn't figure out why he was sending me to Hartford Hospital. Well, probably 5 or 6 years before that, my daughter died in St. Francis Hospital. And that's why he sent me to Hartford Hospital. And I realized I had never been in St. Francis Hospital for years after that, okay? And that's why he sent me to Hartford Hospital, so I wouldn't have that vicarious trauma of a child going in sick and maybe they wouldn't come out, because that's what it does to you. So for any parent that goes through that, or it could be anybody that goes through that trauma, they don't realize it's vicarious trauma. It doesn't mean they're going to carry it forever, because once they become aware of it, they can go about healing it. The fact that it happened here doesn't mean it's going to get repeated here. So it's all about awareness.
Sounds like a good thing that all companies should cover for their employees.
Oh, I
and
think
for
it
all
should, because
people.
it would make a much better, healthier employees and healthier, you know, healthier people working. I mean, vicarious trauma can come from, in the workplace, you could hear a boss screaming at an employee, and that could affect you because you're listening to it, because you don't know if you're next. When you're in the firing range and you feel you might be next, that's vicarious trauma. It's that simple. Some people walk off and, doesn't bother them at all. Not everybody is the same. Some people totally take it in and they're vicariously traumatized by whatever went around them. And they're the vulnerable ones that we have to watch out for.
That's great. Thank you very much for explaining all of that to me and to us.
You're welcome. They're right there up here. Well,
I have a few more. Sorry about that.
oh, no problem.
How can friends and family members support loved ones who may be experiencing vicarious trauma?
I think we already talked
I thought,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah, we did. So I'm going to say, go where you feel welcome. Go where you know the people you can trust. Go the people you can talk to and you know they're going to believe you. Not everybody's aware of it. It's funny, a lot of people experience vicarious trauma, but they don't know what it is until it's explained to them that this is how people in your own life might come to you. And they're not understanding why they're having the reaction they're having. That can be vicarious trauma. The more we know, that's how we help each other.
Absolutely. I look at everything differently just based on our conversation today, because a lot of people have come to me and I haven't known what they've been experiencing. But now that you're saying all of this, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where we can become support systems for people, is validating them where they're coming from, letting them know it's vicarious, and letting them know it's okay and yes, you can get help around it. And turn off the TV.
Yeah, and it's okay to turn off the TV.
Absolutely. Or switch the channel or whatever it is going to get your mind off of your anxiety around things or your worrying. I mean, people are vicarious, traumatized, they're often are anxious, they're worriers. And they worry about everything. Or if they feel powerless and helpless, then they get anxious and they worry more and they don't even know why. So it's, it's been there all along. It's, I think, I don't know when they start giving it names, but probably way back in the 80s, they started to become aware of people with vicarious trauma.
I would think music would be so helpful. It helps me if I need to relax, get somewhere else.
Absolutely. If you can listen to calming music, it helps. I think for every individual, they all have a different way. I love music. I love dance music. So whatever I'm doing, if I want to get up and move or get energized, I listen to music. But then I listen to this very soft music going to bed every night, because it puts me in a very relaxed state, and it allows my whole body to relax and go to sleep. So you pick whatever resonates to you. I love Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And that's energizing. So you have to know what resonates to you. That wouldn't put me to sleep, but it would definitely wake me up. So depends if you want to go to sleep, if you want to wake up, or you want your mind to go somewhere totally different. And all of that helps you just deal with the stress. It minimizes the stress, and it helps your whole body physiologically to calm down.
Yeah, because it can't be good for your body to be in a stressful state like that, even if
Oh,
you're
it's
not
not.
aware.
It's not. They've proven that. You can get all kinds of physical ailments from stress. And vicarious trauma is definitely stressful. So I would urge anyone that is interested in this subject, look it up. Read about it, learn about it, help other people understand it, because that's how we connect, that's how we help people grow.
Yeah, educate yourself and
Educate yourself and then go about educating other people.